Ouais, mais m'a dit ça, ben honnêtement, moi, c'est détendu. Il y avait un gars qui a appelé sa mère, juste pour savoir si elle rencontrerait, je pense, au Dairy Queen, quelque chose. Est-ce que j'avais la larme aux yeux? Est-ce que j'aimerais ça, avoir de parenté? I remember when I first arrived on Vancouver Island, being that far away from relatives or anybody I knew, or that I thought, you know, uh, it's very possible that I'd get to the point knowing that I needed to get through some personal development that would be hard, that I'd call my mom and say, Mommy, come Chelsea, come get me. And it's not something that would work. I'd get the same answer from any relatives or family. It'd be the same as in the X-Men movies. It'd be the mom of Iceman saying, well, have you thought of not being a mutant? Have you tried not being a mutant? And the answer for me is kind of the same as, have you thought of being one of us, or have you thought of not being an Homo sapien? And no, I would rather endure some hardships and to be, proud of being the only person I know so far that has self-actualized the potential of their DNA for this sentience and sapience. And I know people say, hey, I'm sapient or I'm sentient because, that's what our species is. You can see it in any book or whatever. Look it up on the internet. Yeah, well, those are behaviors. It's not like a particular, like body shape or clothes or job or pension plan or how many of you there are that will claim the same thing that makes it right. What makes it right is reality and measurements and the definition of these words that we're using. So that's what I want to be, an unexamined life is not worth living. Well, mine is very well examined, and it's on the internet, and it'll continue to be. And there's multiple years of hardships, and there's multiple years of saying things like, for example, in the news today about the decisions of the Trudeau government, they call it, to do the Emergencies Act, and a lot of it is actually the corruption of the Ottawa Police. It's been building for decades. And it was a good time to investigate that more with this thing. But there's a lot of things that coincided, and it was well used. And I'm not a fan of any politician, but I knew it was the right choice, and I know what it would be like for Ottawa residents to have dealt with this. And it's going to be a better Ottawa when they clean up the Ottawa Police too after this. So it was a necessary evil to also practice for more hardships coming in the Anthropocene. So it was well done. It was well done also the way it was executed, and also the way it was canceled as soon as it wasn't needed anymore. And if anybody ever criticizes that particular political party for this, I mean, they'd just be showing their own self-serving life priorities, let's call it. And really that's what it was. It was not about freedom. It was not about being better educated or having better, medical care. It wasn't about, improving labor rights, which are getting worse because nobody's having the right conversations. And that extended winter redneck carnival that was very disruptive, not just to the residents of Canada, but to just the way politicians can problem solve. Because even other politicians have been the problem of problem solving, just because they like criticizing each other more than collaborating with each other. I hope some of the lessons are learned, and I hope even that some of the politicians end up being arrested if they were funding things when it was proven that they were observing, criminal behavior. Like, for example, I've shown video footage of people in other provinces or countries doing peaceful protests where they're just walking in the street and often quiet, not yelling, having signs or very little words. And it's the ones that were well prepared and well informed that represented the groups that were speaking to the journalists. They weren't avoiding the journalists by criticizing them when they had really nothing to say. That's pathetically the redneckism that was growing in Canada, and I think it was well taken care of. So what I wanted to say, finally the sun's out from behind that cloud, is it looks like there'll be another night for me to be in the cold, and it's been very hard. in this, and it's going to be much colder in 1 week. But I'm still doing things like putting up posters, to like do things like tutoring to fundraise to offer my program, not-for-profit society, where I wouldn't be paid. And it's to help you, right? Help you save your humanity by teaching life skills to your younger children while also helping them reconnect with the natural world, and therefore disconnecting from a lot of the unnatural behaviors of the religious and monetary paradigms. So this is my service to you for free, and I will endure hardships. And I don't need to call my mom for help when what she would say is, have you tried not being Martin Parizeau or anybody else in my family who believe that they have succeeded, and they have succeeded in fitting into the norm, which has caused the Anthropocene. And that's not something I could live with for doing myself. And again, it took many, many years, not just one event, to become this person that can understand what right and wrong is during this time of history, which is very hard to believe, that we're this destructive species on this planet. And it's not hard to believe because it's hard to find evidence. It's so easy to find evidence, but you just gotta say, okay, well, reality matters if we have kids and grandkids, or we claim to love our pets, or whatever you want to call them, or whatever it is, or the earth, or whatever that you might want to say is worth fighting for. But again, fighting is your own self-education mostly, and your own sense of accountability. If everybody becomes part of the solution more and more before they die, they won't succeed at, reaching very high levels, but more and more before they die, then there'll be a way for me to be hopeful for my species. But to see this happening at this point is extremely unlikely. And it's also that, the work that would have to be done against the norm is most people at this point are so domesticated, they cannot go against the norm with even the simplest things, like with what to eat or drink in a group or whatever it is, whether it's good for them or not. They can't make those choices for their own health, so definitely won't do it for their own legacy or children or future generations, which they can barely understand when they're so self-serving that it's just the immediate bank balance that makes a difference to them. So yeah, it's very hard for me, and it'll continue to be, and I'm doing this for you. These hardships for the biosphere and for your species I share DNA with, although I say for a long time now that I've speciated, in the sense that I've actually developed the human thinking tools that you can measure for me to actually behave in ways that majoritively, without effort, fits the definition of sentience and sapience. So that's why I call myself speciated. What else did I want to say while I enjoy the view? Well, maybe that's pretty much it for now. I mean, a lot of people would say, well, Martin, why are you kind of, with every red flag and trigger and evidence about, the people here being the same, why do you want to keep trying a bit more? Because you could, for example, focus on just not freezing at night and go somewhere else where a hotel would say, yeah, we'll, get back on the road, not sure where. And just do that, right? Just do focus on my, my one shelter needs, and then screw you, right? But I can't do that, right? Because if I say screw you, I'm also saying screw the biosphere, and I can't do that. So I have to try to be a part of the solution in the species I belong to by trying to create some sort of legacy that probably won't be observed during my lifetime, but it'll be documented for future generations. So yeah, I mean, it might be cheaper for me to just go somewhere and rest for a bit while I get electricity, instead of the hardships here where it's a 5-week month for me and my limited budget, and it looks like some things went through my budget that I didn't know about or didn't agree with already. And yeah, it might take a while to actually generate income to get a rental that's worth it, and I'm trying to incorporate a rental that is an office space where I could just park outside if there's a reserved spot and plug and sleep there, but do my paperwork and office and professional stuff while I try to set up a not-for-profit society that'll start this summer with my pilot project, where I can do tutoring to fundraise and invest it totally in that, and then the parents would have a location to pick up and drop off the kids for this program. I'm still trying to do this. I mean, I'm still also interacting with other employers to raise money in other ways, and maybe do this part-time instead of my main focus. But I mean, employers are scared of a thinking person. They're mostly scared about a person that can advocate for themselves, in the sense that, you know, any employer has this on their wall or their website. This is our mission statement. And really, it's so easy to observe that they are not engaging in these behaviors. And even like some of their staff talk about it, except that they won't want to compromise their paycheck, so that they become part of the problem to the point they can't deviate anymore, even though the hardships for them and their kids and the clientele they serve gets worse. That's not me. And really is like, I honor my commitments. I honor my contract. So if somebody offers me a work contract and they screw it up, I will document it and I will give them warnings, and eventually I leave. And it's not me failing. This has happened many times. It's not me failing. It's well documented. You failed at your own mission statements. And all you had to do is let a culture repair help you with that. But instead, nope, continue down the path of the Anthropocene.